Call me Mrs. Whatsit.
Mrs. Who?
In an age
No,
where
Mrs.
nothing
Whatsit.
seems fresh and
Mrs.
new,
Who is
where our screens are
100 years
flooded
older
with
and way
sequels,
more knowledgeable.
superheroes, and Jedi, it's always a breath of fresh air when something comes along with a unique story to tell and a whole lot of heart. It's a story that's waited 55 years to be shown on the big screen, and it would seem that Madeline Lee Engle's A Wrinkle in Time was worth the wait. A Wrinkle in Time tells the story of Meg Murray, a young girl who has to deal with the usual growing pains of high school, along with the added trauma of having her father missing for the last 4 years. She ends up going on a wild adventure through the universe with her little brother, Charles Wallace, her classmate, Calvin, and 3 celestial beings, Mrs. Who, Mrs. Witch, and Mrs. Whatsit, to bring her father home. What ensues is a beautiful coming-of-age story where Meg learns her self-worth as well as learns how to finally love herself for who she is. To say there wasn't a weak link in the chain is cheesy and cliche, but it's true. The kids are just as good as the adults, if not better in some instances, and it really felt like everyone fed off each other to push the emotion of the story. Storm Reid is one of the up-and-coming newcomers in Hollywood, and definitely a young woman to keep an eye on. Meg is a reluctant, imperfect hero, and Storm plays the Meg of my childhood imagination perfectly. She doubts herself. She questions everything. She isn't comfortable in her own skin, but not in a self-loathing sort of way. She acts like many teenage girls act, and I think her performance is something that will resonate with both young girls and women alike, seemingly going through the same things that Meg is struggling with throughout the film. But she is anything but a two-dimensional character. She's also passionate and stubborn and extraordinarily protective of Charles Wallace. Another huge surprise for me came in the form of Derek McCabe as Charles Wallace, Meg's little brother. We didn't see much of him in the trailers or clips prior to the film's release, and I feel like they were trying to hide just how awesome this kid is. At only 9 years old, Derek takes a heavy burden onto his tiny shoulders and plays the very intimidating role of Charles Wallace, a 6-year-old boy who has telepathic powers. He is a central character in the story with a huge amount of dialogue, and yet Derek had no problem with the incredible amount of lines, along with the heaviness of the character's story. He brings a maturity to the story that is both slightly unnerving, but also necessary. He manages to flip between adoring little brother and frightening monster in the blink of an eye. This film was an intense undertaking with over 50 years of expectations attached to it. Considered one of the cornerstones of modern-day science fiction, readers have had a very specific version of what this story looks like through the years. And Ava DuVernay did an incredible job at taking the beautiful imagery of the book and transforming it into a stunning film to watch. One aspect that I really appreciated was the 3 misses and how they were always a bright spot no matter where they were. They could have been in Meg's living room, in the Happy Medium's cave, or even Camisot's, and yet they were still glowing. From their beautiful costumes made of bright colored fabric and wild and crazy hair and jeweled faces, you were reminded time and time again that they were something so much greater than mere humans. They were celestial beings, and there was no forgetting it. The costumes the 3 misses ended up wearing were some of my favorite parts of the film. Each time they tessered to a new location, they had new hair, new makeup, and new clothes, and they were stunning each time they reappeared. Surprisingly, for a film that used so much CGI, it all looked crisp and clean. I'm usually a hardcore hater when it comes to CGI, especially if it can be done with makeup or puppetry. But I found that there really wasn't anything in this film that distracted me or made me cringe. The planet of Uriel was breathtaking, and the final confrontation with Meg and the It was so well done. It never seemed choppy or poorly done, and for that, I was relieved. Many times we say that a film is character-driven or story-driven, but A Wrinkle in Time is run by both its memorable, relatable characters as well as the importance of its story. In a world that seems to be rushing by and filled with animosity, it's important to realize that we all have the power to fight the evil and the darkness in the world. And sometimes all it takes to fight the darkness is loving each other. That is the overall message of this film, and I think it's an important one in today's day and age. There is something for everyone in this film, whether you're a fan of sci-fi and fantasy, or if you're into scientific theories, you're religious, into thrillers, getting over the loss of a loved one, or looking for an epic adventure. The acting was on point, costumes and visuals were stunning, and Ava DuVernay took one of my all-time favorite books and managed to not only tell its story, but did it in a beautiful way that I think would even make Madeleine L'Engle proud. For all things Disney, Marvel, Star Wars, and more, you're already in the right place. Keep it locked here at thegeekiverse.com.